It's twofold. On one side, as an engineer, all you want to do is once you're done with the previous project, you come up with a solution, the mechanical engineer, the electrical engineer, they come up with a solution, design it, make it, and everything, you move on. My next excitement point is the next customer and say, hey, can you do this for us?
Welcome back to another installment of the Next Gen Case Study Series. Today on this episode, we have Barry Zhang, who is the CEO and founder of Princetel Inc., an advanced manufacturing company specializing in fiber optic rotary joints and slip rings. He founded Princetel after earning a PhD in mechanical and aerospace engineering from Princeton University and has grown the company to achieve significant success. Barry is known for his commitment to environmental sustainability and his innovative approach to high-tech manufacturing, which is why we're excited to have him on the program. Barry, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Devin. That was a very good introduction.
Thank you. I'm really excited to get into this here. To kick things off, let's do a quick little dive into your background, who you are, where you came from, and how you ended up as the CEO and founder of Princetel.
Interesting. I came to this country to pursue graduate study. Princeton was where I ultimately landed. Got my PhD, started one company back in 1994, making fiber optic devices in the telecom field. As everybody knows, telecom went, boom and bust in about 2000. So the company, by the time they went bust, the company was already acquired by a much larger company. So I worked in that company for 3 years or so, gained a lot more industrial knowledge. And so that's roughly the time frame I decided to start the second company, which is Princetel. So at the time of the founding of the company, the market for our product was not quite mature yet. So we spent a lot of time developing it. Took about 5 years for us to break even. And then from that point on, we really just never looked back. We are right now, we're considered the only US-based manufacturer making that particular product. And back in 2016, we acquired an electrical slipping company. That's what made Princetel one company who can offer both products. So in a nutshell, that's really where we're all about.
It sounds like you are a pioneer of new technologies and tools and things like that for the industry, and so that has afforded you the opportunity to.
I'm sorry. No, go
That's
ahead.
okay. That's okay. That's afforded you the opportunity to create your own blue oceans to fish from. Is that true?
Yes and no. But at the time of the start of the company, the product was already there on the market. So we were certainly not the first one.
Mm.
However, the earlier players decided to migrate out of the country. One is in Germany, one is in Canada. We ended up being the only one. So, left in this country making this particular product. So it's it's a very unusual situation. The market is not huge, but it's a fast growing market. You would think there should be other players out there. There's small players out there, but they're not to the full scale. So we have been pretty lucky so far, enjoying a market of our own in this country.
I suppose that being the only player or the only significant player thus far in the industry, that creates its own set of challenges in terms of serving the client base. Have you experienced any challenges in the way of being maybe inundated with the request or need for the product and service that you offer?
Yes, on one side, being the only maker in this country give you a wide platform, but on the other, obviously we've got to deal with a huge variety of demands, like what you were talking about, right? Different industry, different application, different level of sophistication, different level of engineers who deal with fiber optic is relatively new to most people. So
Hmm.
that's the good news. Generally, we will need to educate our customers. So the challenge is pretty much on us to be able to deliver what the customer really, really needs. But so far, that really make our job, our day-to-day work, at least on the engineering side, very interesting because you deal with new applications, new challenges all the time. So we constantly need to innovate. As a result, we've been around for 23 years. We managed to achieve about 24 patents, essentially one per year, approved patent in the U.S. Patent Office. So that gave us a lot of leeway to come up with new solutions, new product.
So when it comes to how you manage these relationships and requests and new people coming into your business, are there specific tools and technologies that you deploy to simplify that process, or are you more hands-on and kind of in the mud of things right now?
When it comes to new product, a new idea, there are really two levels of creativity. Number one, somebody got to come up with a solution to the idea. How do you actually approach this particular challenge? Once that concept is solidified, we're a manufacturer. Everything has to essentially come down to cutting metal. So mechanical engineers will have to design it, select the right material. If there is electrical factors involved, then we do have electrical engineers on staff. So they will need to come down to drawing, cutting metal, surface treatment, and then assemble, performing all the testing, qualification, and all of that. So that's really what makes manufacturing more challenging than most other industry, right? So the service sector, you need to provide a solution, but you don't really need to make something. Making something really is a very different business model. You need to have the idea, you need to have the supply chain, you need to be able to manage the design, the material, and the team to put it together. So certainly, no matter how simple the product is, there's no shortcut. You got to go through all of that. So that does pose quite a bit of a challenge. And so that's why manufacturing companies you rarely see manufacturing company go through the so-called Moore's law kind of a growth, and double the company in 18 months or so. It's just so much harder. You gotta build the infrastructure. You gotta have the right people trained. You gotta have the equipment. You gotta line up all the materials. Then you have that. You need to have the facility, right? It's not like printing software. Once you're done, you can just keep printing. The manufacturing has a very different challenge. So it's really hard to grow very fast.
So, I mean, you got to have I guess, a limiter in terms of how much new business you take on. And I imagine that makes it difficult to go through what opportunities are worthwhile ventures.
Yeah, that's a very good observation. There are so many times we would have to tell ourselves that we cannot take on this job because we either don't have the amount of trained staff to handle it, or we don't have the equipment, or we don't have the cash. Because if you want to double yourself, then suddenly you almost have to double at least your manufacturing crew and equipment, facility. It all takes time. Even facility. We bought a building in 2000. We didn't get to move in until the end of 2023, almost 3 years. So it just doesn't happen overnight. That really is. So we do limit ourselves. So our comfort zone is about 15 to 25% growth year after year, and because there's always an anticipation that things will go better, will go higher. Just hire people on the fly whenever the opportunity knocks, and equipment, training, and all of that, it's always ongoing. But if you go faster than that, one out of the entire chain of activities can become a choking point.
So, in terms of how you manage your team and how they are vetting these opportunities and kind of sorting through all of the information and data, is it a very laborious kind of task for them, or have you systemized this and made it a little bit easier? What I'm really looking for is like, what kind of tools and technologies are you deploying to help make this easier for you and your team?
Yeah, first of all, we do have a operating system. It's Epic Core. You have SAP on the top. You have Oracle. SCP is one of the players out there. What it is essentially it's a gigantic software that manages the entire operation of a manufacturing company, starting from customer interaction to design file, drawings, inventory, financials, and procedures, and everything is in there. So the infrastructure is there. We don't really need to rely on a single person. We're working on customized spreadsheet to manage the operation. So that really is the known factor, right? So we can expand that particular infrastructure, even if we double in a year. We don't need to reinvent that. The system is already there. We don't need to double the inventory, double the staff, and everything. So that's there. That's really the good news. But we are, at the end of the day, we're still a relatively small company. We have about 90 people today. So it's still relatively small. So you can imagine we grew from 4 people all the way to 90 people. So we're always experimenting. We're always testing. We're always trying new things. But we have never been large enough to say, let's put a model together. Let's see, and next time, how much faster can we actually design and build this product? Then the chances are the next challenge is a different product. So whatever you built in the past, yes, it's relevant, but you cannot simply copy and just use that model. So there's always a heavy dose of experimentation, improvising. That also would make the operation, like I said, challenging and fun because you're dealing with new things all the time. So it's really a complex, process.
Yeah, I like the analogy of fast food, right? When you pull up to the window, you make an order, somebody that takes that order, it actually doesn't even need to be human. It can be a computer, and then a bunch of other computers control some robots and build you a hamburger and then hand it out a window. It's a very simple and repeatable process. But it sounds to me, Barry, like the work that you do is more hands-on, actively problem solving and interpreting information and data to create solutions that don't exist and can't necessarily even be systemized. Is that true? Is that accurate?
It's always a manufacturer's dream to be able to say, hey, we designed, fabricated, tested, and proved that one particular model is the right thing for the overall market. Then tomorrow, we're just going to crank 100 or 1,000 of them at a time. Our operation, we do have models that we have added. The largest number we've made on one particular model is about 3,000 a year, which is really very large for a company of our size. The rest of it is just a combination of 10, 20 pieces here and there, sometimes 2 or 3 here and there. So it really is a mixed bag. There are really pros and cons in both cases. The so-called low volume, high mix make the operation very interesting, but it's really hard to grow. It's really hard to build a really high margin because all the changes essentially make it more likely for you to make a mistake. You're going to have to repeat certain things, right? So it becomes much more costly. But the high volume, low mix kind of a model, that's very typical of a commercial product. But then you got to deal with managing your inventory. How much is too much, how little is too little. And it's never a perfect world that you somehow produce exactly what the market really needs. And what do you do with the excess inventory, or what do you do when you come short? You can't deliver, right? So in a consumer world, you're late by a few days. It may not be the end of the world. In the case of a high technology, you may have a missile system, you may have a ship system, you may have a radar system that is sitting there waiting. So being late by a week sometimes is a big deal. So it can get stressful. So on one side, we got to manage all the new challenges, but on the other, we're always mindful on things we can implement automated system so that we can gradually reduce the human intervention in that process. So that really, it's always a manufacturer's dream to turn everything into a robot, push the button, you can stand there and watch or walk away.
Right. I'm curious, Barry, then in all of the efforts that you're making, what is it that you're kind of most excited about, you know, on the horizon of the company and the work that you're doing?
It's twofold. On one side, as an engineer, all you want to do is once you're done with the previous project, you come up with a solution, the mechanical engineer, the electrical engineer, they come up with a solution, design it, make it, and everything, you move on. My next excitement point is the next customer and say, hey, can you do this for us? Then you go back to the essentially the drawing board and come up with a new idea. Sometimes, you may actually end up filing a patent. That's always very, very exciting. I absolutely enjoy that. That's an excitement. The other end of the spectrum, when you get a customer, let's just say the wind turbine, wind farms, hundreds and thousands of wind farms, one customer needs 3,000 of them. Well, that challenge suddenly becomes not to design a new product, but to design a new set of tools so you can make them much quicker and then at least partially automate the process. That's another engineering challenge. So both levels engineering challenges are very exciting. The volume potential is that challenge or that excitement is really it's much more complex because on one side you have the engineering challenge, on the other you could really be very well rewarded in the financial return.
Right. Yeah. The idea of being able to find these new opportunities and then actively be a problem solver of issues that are coming on and then creating something that's useful for them is very rewarding work. Uh I'm fascinated at the commitment to staying nimble in the work that you're doing because there's like you said, there's always this demand for us to systemize, repeat, and create this ongoing machine. But in that you kind of remove the human element, and so to be involved, hands-on, and kind of be in there. Do you find that serves you in the work that you do, as far as reputation management and keeping referrals and like getting new clients from networking and that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's a really a hidden challenge. Most people tend not to think about something like that. You get your PO coming in, you buy the material, you make the part, you ship it, and don't make any mistakes, and then you collect your check. That really is the day-to-day process. But on the other hand, there are other hidden challenges, and sometimes it's the synergy between the vendor like us with a customer, right? Are we a good match? Are we the right size? There are times that we may be considered too small for some of the large operations out there, and also the human interaction. Do you really build do you really have the ability to build a relationship on a personal level with your customers so you are actually emotionally connected? That is really the ultimate achievement, right? You build that relationship there. The rest of it, whatever difficulty you come across, it can always be solved. So that really is the ultimate success when you build a really solid relationship with your customer, the engineer on the application side. The other challenge, we talk about hidden challenges. No matter how large or how small you are, this is a team of human beings. The team of human beings got to be able to work together. But that's not always true. There's always friction. We have about 23 different countries represented in one operation. You get all kinds of cultures, all kinds of accent. When you talk about English, sometimes foreign languages are being spoken when a group of people from one country decided to, interact. So there are always cultural differences, commensurate or lack of it between people. Friction does happen, but luckily Princetel is known to be a very transparent company. Princetel is known to treat its customer and vendors and employees very well. We actually won the Best Place to Work award in 2 decades, twice in 1 decade.
Wow,
10 years apart.
congratulations.
So one time we were 20 some people. The second time we did it, I think we had about 70, 80 people, which is actually a much more difficult process because uh, it is not just a matter of pleasing everybody. It's just a matter of providing a work environment so that everybody feels comfortable, right? They feel like they're being treated fairly. So that really is a very significant challenge. Yes, when you talk about problem solving, there are engineering challenges, physics, chemistry. You need to come up with a solution. More often than not, it's just two people who couldn't get along or had an argument, and somebody has to intervene. And sometimes that's a lot more challenging to handle.
Right. I do remember one of the things that I thought was interesting about your business is the how diverse the workforce is and how you advocate for including people from all kind of walks of life, and that in and of itself creates challenges just in the communication and the culture, and then we talk about I call this the Disney effect. Disney, at its theme parks, has this thing that they do called magical moments, where they have given their staff the power to do nice things for the guests, that aren't necessarily orthodox. For example, the experience I had for me and my son was we were contemplating whether or not we should get some ice cream. We were really tight on the budget. Going to Disney is very expensive. I don't know if anybody knows that, but um, the kiosk employee recognized that we were kind of struggling with that, and I was ready to walk away. And he came out from behind the kiosk and gave my son an ice cream and gave it to him for free. So
Mm.
to empower the employee to give away things for free when it looks like it's going to create a magical moment for a child is
Yeah.
such a incredible way to empower your employees. Barry, I wonder, is there room for that in your industry in terms of how you serve your clientele?
Yeah, that's a very good example of businesses who know how to handle their customer and client relationship. In our case, obviously, that situation varies all the time. You got customers who are two people company, the customer who are GE, and hundreds of thousands of people, right? So the way you handle them, it does change. So in our case, you can't really set a rule to say you can do this or not do this or encourage people to do this and that. It doesn't cover everything. So what we do is we focus on a essentially an overarching principle, right? Whatever you do, wherever you are, you may be dealing with customer, vendors, or maybe just between employees. To just do the responsible thing, be transparent, do the responsible thing, and then if you're talking to a customer on a particular charge, say a repair a product, whenever there is a doubt, um, give that to the customer uh, with that benefit of the doubt, right? And tell them next time they will need to pay for it. But unless you are absolutely certain it is Princetel as a vendor's quality issue, those are the things that are naturally covered by warranty. And we also have internal rules. Let's just say our published warranty is 1 year parts and labor. However, the unpublished rule is we actually double it. So, but we don't tell the customer when they come in, say a year and a half. Somehow the product failed to perform, and we recognize as a quality issue. Then we will tell them. You say, hey, we recognize that even though it's beyond warranty, but it's on us this time. It's always a very pleasant surprise to the customer. So you earn the trust with your customer. And so our internal rule is 2 years, even though the customer knows is 1 year. So those are the rules you can set, but you can't cover all the scenarios out there, right? So just play the rule correct, treat people with respect, and be transparent. So far, we have managed to have a very good track record in terms of customer retention.
That's such a solid take on both going above and beyond and creating a remarkable experience for your client, but also being present and aware of the fact that, hey, listen, we're working on this together because this is
Yeah.
a problem that has an unorthodox or an unusual solution. And so, we're gonna collaborate on that. And I love that collaborative nature of business because it serves a much higher purpose in not just, the business function, but the cultural function of bringing people together for the purposes of overcoming big challenges. So, Barry, you've been very generous with your time and insight, and I'm very grateful for what you've shared. I've learned a lot in this conversation. To kind of wrap things up here, I wonder if you could, for somebody else who's in a similar position or role, who's facing similar challenges, is there a piece of advice that you could offer them to help them cope with or overcome that challenge?
People ask me similar questions all the time. Obviously, like I said, running a manufacturing operation is a complex process. What you do, how you do it, the details make a lot of difference. Now, in our case, it is so much easier to set a culture, set a philosophy and principle, rather than set very detailed rules to guide your employees. I mentioned about the warranty practice. That really came from my, bad experience. There were times I remember you go to a manufacturer with a warranty issue, and they were bickering with you about, hey, it's been a year since you bought it. But in reality, there are times you actually buy a piece of equipment, you don't really get to open it until like a month or two later. So you really haven't really used it. Are you going to argue with your customer that, yes, you purchased it for a year, just bickering about that 1 month or sometime a few days of a difference? When you come to that kind of argument with a vendor who's selling you that piece of equipment, you're forced to pay the repair fee, sometimes pretty exuberant repair fee. They're losing their customer. So would you rather lose your customer than having a fair relationship for that customer to be with you for decades to come? So we've done so many different things to follow that being responsible kind of a principle. As a result, I want to give you a few examples. Number one, the working environment. Our building, the first building we actually owned, it was LEED Platinum certified. So to get LEED Platinum certified on a building, especially industrial building, you need to be very sustainable. You need to have high level human comfort so employees are comfortable, right? We have all kinds of internal practices to encourage our employee, first of all, to take public transit. If you buy an electrical car as an employee, the company actually give you $1,000 subsidy. If you walk to work, you bicycle to work, or you carpool to work, well, bicycle and walk, you actually get $2 of a credit per day. You get paid cash at the each payroll. So, and whoever gave ride to other employees as a carpool, he will get that credit. So if you take public transit, say train or buses or whatever, we would actually reimburse you on that ticket. Why do we do that? The company doesn't benefit from that financially whatsoever. And, we have 6 electrical charging stations in a parking lot. That's all free for our tenant, our employee, and whoever happened to pass by, no charge, because we got a huge amount of solar. Our solar on the roof is enough to power about 100 homes. All of that together give your employee, your vendor, your customer a strong sense that you will always be fair. You will never cut corner because you're willing to do all these extra things just to be fair. And so that just makes your life so much easier when it comes to dealing with your customer, because that's your day-to-day, right? So all of the things that we did, we don't have time to talk, all the detailed practice we have here. But at the end of the day, if you think about it, who actually benefit from that? We obviously didn't set out to do any of that so that we have a financial return, because, there is no guarantee. You give people $1,000 on an electrical car. Well, how do you calculate your return, right?
Yeah.
So, and you put a parking lot out there that has a permeable surface, so rain would actually permeate and get sucked into the aquifer. That's good for the environment, but there's no financial return to the company. But at the end of the day, if you actually do a math and think about how we operate, how our retention rate of employees and customers and everything, I really think at the end of the day, we are probably the biggest beneficiary of those practices, whether it's the dollar amount or just goodwill. So if you ask me for one piece of advice, that'll be it. Always do the right thing. You will be the biggest beneficiary of it.
There's a sense that I get that you lead with your heart in the work that you do, and it's not just for the bottom dollar, and your customers aren't just numbers, they are human beings, and um, the advice to be present to that, treat them as such, I think is really really powerful and uh, beneficial for anybody that would be um, in a position to have some sort of influence. So that's very helpful. Barry, if somebody wanted to reach out to you to pick your brain further or perhaps work with you, how would one go about doing that?
I don't have a very large social presence. However, you have my email address, so feel free to pass them along, especially young people who are setting out on their own as a new career, or you know, even venture out on a new venture, right? So I would be more than happy to talk to young people, especially young people who really needed uh, some advice from people who have done it a couple of times. We have tours all the time. Tomorrow, actually Monday, we get another tour of 7 interns to tour the facility just to see how things being operated as a manufacturer. Um, the other thing we didn't talk about this. I wanted to mention is this. Um, as a family, well, if you look at human society, you start out with the smallest denominator, right? Is the family. Then you got a company. Then you got a state or a country or the entire world or United Nations. Uh, Whoever is managing those small units, especially a company, um, I don't think everybody have the habit of think about 3 years or 5 years down the road. They tend to operate a day at a time, a month at a time, maybe a year at a time, right? Make sure we get profitable. Um, they may think about where the company will be 2, 3 years down the road, but there's sometimes no solid plan to help you to achieve your goal. So as a company, if you were to go out, venture out to run a company, to start a company or run a company, think about 1 year, 3 year, 5 year planning. 10 years is a bit too far in my opinion, because technology changes, geopolitical situation changes. But 1, 3, 5 year planning to me is very, very critical. Always think about what you should be doing next year, 3 years from now, and 5 years from now. If you do that very well, you stand a much better chance to succeed.
Very sound advice. That's one thing I know that when I started my first business, I missed out on was the critical planning stage and just jumped in with both feet. And would you be shocked to learn I don't have that business anymore?
Well, Devin, don't feel bad. That doesn't mean you did a bad planning. There are so many other factors that's not under your control, right? Like I said, the market may not be there, the timing may not be right. Most of the hugely successful companies, if you talk about either Microsoft or Apple Computer, there is a amazing timing going on there. So you got to give them credit. Sometimes they got to quit college, right? Otherwise you're going to miss that window. So that timing is, no matter how good you are, if you miss that, somebody were to start a Apple computer company 10 years after Steve Jobs, you probably will never have a chance. You may be smarter than Steve Jobs, but you probably will fail. So timing, it's just very, very critical. Now, I was lucky. I came out of graduate school with a PhD. Suddenly, telecom was booming, but unfortunately, that's not what I studied in graduate school. I studied mechanical engineering. It's high speed flow, aerodynamics, all of that.
Yeah.
But I decided, I got to jump into this opportunity that doesn't happen often at all. It's once in a lifetime of an opportunity. So that's what it did. So that really made the rest of my life so much easier. So timing sometimes played a much bigger role than people realize.
Yeah, there's something that I learned actually along the way here has been that luck as people would have it. I hate that saying, "Oh, it must be nice, you know, you're lucky." Well, here's the thing with luck is just a combination of hard work and preparation meeting opportunity. And
Yeah.
sometimes like you said, the opportunity is not there. You could work as hard as you want. If the opportunity is not there, then nothing comes to fruition. So I think that you're spot on with that, in the advice and what you've shared with us. Barry, this has been an incredible conversation, and I can't thank you enough. I want you to know that I'm very grateful for you sharing your time and wisdom today.
Very good. Thank you so much. I absolutely enjoyed the conversation.
Wonderful. To wrap things up here, anybody that wants to get in touch with Barry, I'll make sure we link to all his stuff in the show notes. If you want to get in touch with us and our team for any reason, it's nextgengrowth.com. Otherwise, that's it for this episode, and I will see you in the next.